The dock station named Kestrel was meant to be quiet. It was only a refuel stop at the edge of a strange space region where signals bent and maps lied. But today it was not quiet. Warning lights flashed across the halls. Sirens repeated the same message again and again. The alien fleet was close, and it was not here to talk. Captain Mara Vance stood in the main hangar and watched workers rush between crates. She kept her voice calm, because fear spreads fast, and she refused to let it spread from her. Outside the wide hangar window, her ship, the Sable Arrow, waited like a thin blade in the dark. Its hull still had burn marks from the last battle. The repairs were quick, not perfect. There had been no time. The aliens were known as the Covenant of Many. Humans simply called them the Many. They were not one species. They were a strict alliance of different species, tied together by one promise: no new species would rise without their approval. Humans had refused to ask. Humans had built ships, crossed star lanes, and opened routes that the Many wanted to control. So the Many decided humans needed to be put back in their place. A deep like boom shook the station. The floor trembled under Mara's boots. Dust fell from ceiling panels. People froze for half a second, then moved faster. A young engineer shouted, "Outer ring hit." Mara tapped her wrist calm and opened a channel to the bridge of the Sable Arrow. "Commander Ilya's status." Ilyas answered with a calm voice that did not match the chaos. "2 fuel pods are gone. Hull is holding. We can still launch, but the drift gate is closing. The Many are setting a lock." "How long?" Mara asked. 8 minutes at best, Ilyas said. "Maybe less." 8 minutes was not a plan. It was a countdown. Mara looked across the hangar. 600 people were on Kestrel Station. Families, workers, medics, tech crews, a few merchants. Their faces carried the same fear, the fear of being trapped. The Sable Arrow could not take all of them. No ship in this sector could. The station director ran up, short and pale, her hair floating slightly in the weak gravity shifts. "Captain," she said, breath shaking, "your ship can take what? 100 more?" 130 if we pack tight, Mara replied. The director's eyes filled with tears. "Then choose," she whispered, like the word was poison. Mara hated that word. Choose. It turned people into numbers. It made blood feel like math. Sergeant Cade Rourke stepped beside Mara. His armor was scratched and dented. His face was hard, but his eyes were human. "Captain," he said quietly, "we can clear a path." "But the station people I know," Mara said. She looked at the civilians again. A mother hugged 2 children close. An old man tried to walk faster than his body allowed. Medics pushed a stretcher through the crowd. Mara did not know their names, but she knew what they were: human. And right now, human meant hunted. Mara made her decision fast, because time did not allow slow pain. "We load the injured first," she said. "Then children, then anyone who can't fight. The rest will help us hold the hangar." The director stared at her. "Hold it against the Many." Mara met her eyes. "Only long enough." The director understood what long enough meant. Her mouth opened, then closed. She nodded, shaking. There was no other choice that did not end in a slaughter. Mara stepped onto a crate and spoke through the hangar speakers. Her voice echoed above the alarms, steady and clear. "Listen, follow the green lights to the Sable Arrow. Injured first, children next. No pushing, no stopping. If someone falls, lift them. We do this together." For a moment, the hangar stayed silent. Then people moved, not as a wild panic, but as a flow with purpose. Medics guided stretchers. Soldiers formed lines. Workers carried supplies. The green lights blinked toward the ship like a path through darkness. Mara and Cade led a small team into the docking ring corridor. This corridor held the main hangar shields. If the Many broke through here, they could board the station and storm the ship before it launched. A computer voice announced, calm, like it was reading a weather report. "Boarding craft detected. Impact in 60 seconds. Cade checked his rifle. "Here they come." Mara sealed her helmet. The air inside smelled like metal and old sweat. She liked that smell. It meant the armor was used. It meant someone had lived through a fight. At the far end of the corridor, the shield gate glowed blue. It shook as something hammered it from outside. Each hit sent ripples through the field. Then the blue light flared and vanished. Darkness rushed in. 3 alien boarding craft latched onto the ring like black insects. Their hatches opened. Tall soldiers dropped out, moving with smooth control. They wore pale armor and blank masks with no mouths. Their weapons were quiet, efficient, and cruel. Mara raised her rifle. She waited one breath. Then she fired. The first alien fell and spun away. Cade's team fired next. Tight bursts. 2 more aliens dropped. For a second, it looked like the Many might pause. They did not. They answered with darts that exploded into freezing mist. The cold spread fast, biting through the corridor air. Mara's visor fogged at the edges. "They're trying to slow us," Cade growled. Mara pushed forward anyway. She fired, reloaded, fired again. Humans fell. Aliens fell. The corridor filled with ice fog and sharp light. Flashes. One of Mara's soldiers took a dart to the chest and slammed into the wall. He did not get up. His blood drifted out in dark red drops, floating like small planets before weak gravity pulled them down. Mara felt something tighten inside her. Not because she had never seen blood, but because she had seen it too much. Human blood had become common in this war. Too common. The computer voice returned. Gate lock in 5 minutes. Mara's throat tightened. 5 minutes. The ship needed for it to clear the station and reach open space. That meant Mara and her team had to keep the many busy for 4 full minutes, no matter the cost. A heavy alien unit rushed forward, faster than the rest. It carried a blade that hummed with blue heat. It swung at Mara's head. Mara ducked and slammed her rifle butt into its side. The armor dented, but the alien did not react like a human would. It turned, blade rising again. Cade shot it, but the round sparked off. Its armor was thick. Mara reached for a grenade. Her glove slipped in the cold mist. The alien's blade came down. Mara lifted her left arm by instinct. The blade cut into her forearm armor. Pain flashed hot and sharp. Blood spilled, bright red against gray metal, and splashed onto the floor as the gravity flickered. The alien stopped, its head tilted slightly, as if it was seeing something dangerous. Mara stared through her visor. The alien took one careful step back, then another, avoiding the fresh red smear like it was poison. That hesitation lasted only a second, but it was real. Mara pressed her hand against her wound, warm blood seeping into her glove. She did not understand why the many reacted that way, but she noticed it. She noticed it the way a soldier notices a crack in a wall. Across the corridor, the alien leader clicked a command. Mara's translator caught one word, broken but clear. Contaminant. Mara's mind raced. She remembered old rumors from early contact days. People had whispered that some alien species feared human biology, that human blood carried something their bodies could not handle. Most had laughed at it. In war, people cling to stories because stories can feel like armor. But the alien had stepped back. The computer voice announced, gate lock in 3 minutes. Mara forced herself upright. Pain begged her to fall, but she stayed standing. She tore a strip of cloth from her sleeve and pressed it against her wound until it soaked red. Then she wrapped it around the handle of a spare combat knife. Cade stared. Captain, what are you doing? Mara lifted the blood-soaked cloth like a dark flag. If they think our blood is a threat, she said, then we use it. Cade's eyes narrowed with grim understanding. His jaw set. Then we make them afraid of every step. Behind them, through the inner door, Mara could hear the last civilians boarding. She pictured children clutching blankets, injured people being lifted carefully, mothers whispering promises they were not sure they could keep. Mara stepped out from cover, rifle in one hand, blood-marked knife in the other. The many raised their weapons, but they also shifted back again, just slightly. Mara felt something strange rise in her chest. Not hope, not joy. Something harder. Pride. Humanity's blood had been spilled for years. It had been treated like weakness by the many. It had been used as proof that humans could be crushed. But now, in this corridor, under cold lights and sirens, Mara saw a new truth. Human blood was not only lost, it could be, warning. It could be challenged. It could be a weapon the many could not control. And Mara Vance was ready to bleed if it meant humanity did not kneel. The Sable Arrow's loading ramp stayed open, swallowing people into its narrow belly. Inside the ship, the air smelled like antiseptic and oil. Every seat was filled. Every corner held someone sitting with knees pulled close. Medics moved between bodies, checking pulses, pressing bandages, giving water in small sips. Commander Ilya stood near the ramp and watched the final group come in. He kept his face calm, but his eyes were tight. He did not like leaving anyone behind. No human did, but this was war, and war did not care about what people liked. A young girl stepped onto the ramp, holding a small toy drone in her hands. Her father walked behind her, his face bruised, one arm in a sling. The girl looked back toward the station corridor and whispered, "Are they coming?" Her father swallowed. "Not yet," he said, even though he did not know if that was true. Ilyas turned to a crew member. "Close the ramp in 60 seconds, he ordered. "Engines hot. The moment the corridor team signals, we launch." The crew member nodded, hands shaking as he ran. On the corridor side, Captain Mara Vance fought with pain burning through her forearm. The cut was not deep enough to disable her, but it was deep enough to remind her that every second cost something. The many advanced slower now. They did not rush the way they had before. They moved in careful steps, trying not to touch the blood on the floor. That alone told Mara the rumor might be real. Something in humans scared them. Not guns, not ships, something inside their bodies. Cade's team understood quickly. One soldier tore open a fresh wound on his own palm with a knife, grimacing as blood dripped. Another smeared blood on a broken pipe and shoved it into the corridor like a barrier. It was ugly and desperate, but it worked. The many slowed again, their perfect formation breaking into cautious spacing. "They hate it," Cade muttered. "They really hate it." Mara fired at a drone that tried to float past them. The drone burst, spraying sparks. "Then make sure they smell it," she said. The many changed tactics. They sent small, hovering units, not soldiers, to spray foam across the floor. The foam hardened into a pale shell, sealing the blood under a clean layer. Mara's stomach dropped. "They're trying to cover it." Cade signaled his team. "Break the foam, keep it messy." Humans slammed boots down, cracked the foam, smeared fresh blood over it. The corridor became a strange battlefield. Rifles, ice mist, broken panels, and red streaks that the many kept trying to erase. The computer voice announced. Gate lock in 2 minutes. Mara's come buzzed with Ilyas's voice. Captain, we are almost full. Give me the signal when we can go. Mara looked back through the inner door window. She could see the hangar area, now almost empty. Only a few station defenders remained, armed with tools and old rifles. They would not survive if the many reached them. Mara spoke into her come. 2 minutes. Hold position. The moment I say go, you go. Ilyas hesitated. And you? Mara did not answer directly. You protect them, she said. That's the mission. The many pushed again. The heavy unit returned, blade humming. It had learned to avoid blood. It stepped carefully around the red stains, like a hunter walking around a trap. Mara lifted her blood-wrapped knife. The heavy unit paused, then angled its blade away slightly, as if it did not want to risk contact. That fear gave Mara an idea. She grabbed a broken coolant pipe and slammed it open with her boot. Cold gas hissed out. The pipe's edge was sharp. Mara pressed her injured arm against it for a split second. Fresh blood spilled, warm and thick. Pain shot through her, but she did not fall. Instead, she dragged her bleeding arm across the floor in a wide line. Like drawing a boundary. The heavy unit stopped at the line. The rest of the many slowed. Cade stared, half shocked, half impressed. You're drawing a wall with blood. Mara's voice was rough. They want order. They want clean war. They can't control what we are. The many leader clicked again, harsher. Its soldiers raised weapons, but they did not cross the bloodline. They tried to fire over it, sending darts in quiet rounds. Humans fired back. Sparks and ice filled the air. Then a dart struck a human defender in the shoulder. He fell, bleeding. His blood pooled near the line. The many stepped back even more. Mara saw it clearly. Now human blood was a warning sign to them. Maybe it was toxic. Maybe it carried microbes their bodies could not handle. Maybe it was something deeper, something cultural, some ancient fear. She did not know. She only knew it worked. The computer voice announced, gate lock in 1 minute. Mara's come chirped again. Ilyas's voice came tight. Captain, we have to launch in 60 seconds, or we die here too. Mara looked at Cade. Cade looked back. In that look, a whole conversation passed without words. How long can we hold? How many of us will still breathe? Does it matter? Mara nodded once. We hold until 30 seconds, she said. Then we break and fall back. Cade barked orders. Humans shifted positions, careful to keep blood between them and the many. It felt wrong, using their own bodies like this. But it also felt right, because it was their reality. Humans had always paid with flesh. The many tried another trick. A drone flew low and sprayed a fine powder over the bloodline. The powder shimmered, reacting with the red and turning it dark, almost black. Mara watched, alarm rising. They're neutralizing it. Cade fired at the drone, shattering it. Then we refresh it. One by one, the defenders did something terrible and brave. They cut their palms. They reopened wounds. They pressed bleeding cloth to the floor. The corridor became red again, fresh and bright, alive. The many stopped, trapped by their own fear. 30 seconds, Mara said into her comm. Ilyas launch on my mark, Ilyas replied, voice low. Understood. Mara looked down at her bleeding arm. It was not weakness. It was proof. Proof that humans could take pain and still stand. 10 seconds. The computer voice announced. Mara raised her rifle and fired a long burst, not to kill, but to force the many's heads down. 5. The computer counted. Mara's heart hammered. 3. Cade shouted. Fall back. 2. Mara turned and ran, arm burning, boots slipping on blood and foam. 1. She shouted into her comm. Mark, go. Behind her. In the hangar, the Sable Arrow's engines roared. The ship lifted hard, shaking the station. The ramp sealed. The whole lights flared. The ship shot forward like a released arrow. Mara glanced back through the inner window, just in time to see the Sable Arrow slip into open space, racing toward the drifting gate corridor before it fully closed. The many screamed in clicks and harsh signals, angry and confused. Mara smiled inside. Her helmet not because she had won, because the children were leaving alive, and because, for the first time, the many looked afraid of something human. The drift gate locked with a deep, silent pulse that Mara felt in her bones more than she heard. It was like the universe itself closing a door. The Sable Arrow was gone. The civilians were gone. The many had lost their clean victory, but the many still had. Kestrel Station, Mara and Cade's team pulled back into the inner corridor junction and sealed the blast doors behind them. The door shook as alien weapons struck it, but it held for now. The defenders leaned against walls, breathing hard, checking ammo, checking wounds. Mara removed her helmet. Her hair stuck to her forehead with sweat. Her left forearm was wrapped with cloth, soaked through. Her hand trembled slightly from pain, but she kept it steady by gripping her rifle. Cade approached. Blood dripped from a cut on his cheek. Ship's clear, he said. They made it. Mara let out a breath she did not realize she had been holding. Her chest hurt, not from wounds, but from relief that was too heavy. Good, she whispered. Then the station director stepped into the junction, eyes wide. Captain, she said, voice shaking. What now? Mara looked at her defenders. There were maybe 20 people left who could fight. The many outside were dozens, maybe more, and their bigger ships still orbited the station. We buy time, Mara said simply. Time for what? The director asked, almost pleading. Mara's gaze went distant. Time for the message. She knew something now that command needed to know. The many feared human blood. That fear could change battles. It could save worlds. It could be the crack that breaks their control. Mara tapped her comm, switching to a narrowband emergency channel that sometimes slipped through the Orion drift. This is Captain Mara Vance of the Sable Aero Defense Team, she said. If any human receiver is listening, record and relay. Static answered, then faint sound. Someone out there was listening, Mara continued. The Covenant of Many shows avoidance behavior toward human blood. They call it contaminant. Their heavy units hesitate near fresh human blood. They attempt to cover or neutralize it. This is not rumor. This is field observation at Kestrel Station. Use this knowledge. The director stared at her. You're sending your blood as a weapon. Mara met her eyes. They made it a weapon by fearing it. Cade leaned close, speaking low. Captain, they're cutting through the blast door. Metal screamed outside as alien tools bit into it. The door bowed slightly inward. Mara nodded. Then we make them pay for every inch. The defenders set up a final line in the junction. There were 2 main entry points, the blast door, and a service duct above that an alien could cut open. Mara placed 2 fighters on the duct with grenades. She placed the strongest shooters facing the door. Then she did something that made the director recoil. Mara opened her arm wrap and let fresh blood drip onto the floor in a wide circle around their position. What are you doing? The director whispered. The drift gate locked with a deep, silent pulse that Mara felt in her bones more than she heard. It was like the universe itself closing a door. The Sable Arrow was gone. The civilians were gone. The many had lost their clean victory, but the many still had. Kestrel Station, Mara and Cade's team pulled back into the inner corridor junction and sealed the blast doors behind them. The door shook as alien weapons struck it, but it held for now. The defenders leaned against walls, breathing hard, checking ammo, checking wounds. Mara removed her helmet. Her hair stuck to her forehead with sweat. Her left forearm was wrapped with cloth, soaked through. Her hand trembled slightly from pain, but she kept it steady by gripping her rifle. Cade approached. Blood dripped from a cut on his cheek. Ship's clear, he said. They made it. Mara let out a breath she did not realize she had been holding. Her chest hurt, not from wounds, but from relief that was too heavy. Good, she whispered. Then the station director stepped into the junction, eyes wide. Captain, she said, voice shaking. What now? Mara looked at her defenders. There were maybe 20 people left who could fight. The many outside were dozens, maybe more, and their bigger ships still orbited the station. We buy time, Mara said simply. Time for what? The director asked, almost pleading. Mara's gaze went distant. Time for the message. She knew something now that command needed to know. The many feared human blood. That fear could change battles. It could save worlds. It could be the crack that breaks their control. Mara tapped her switching to a narrowband emergency channel that sometimes slipped through the Orion drift. This is Captain Mara Vance of the Sable Aero Defense Team, she said. If any human receiver is listening, record and relay. Static answered, then faint sound. Someone out there was listening, Mara continued. The Covenant of Many shows avoidance behavior toward human blood. They call it contaminant. Their heavy units hesitate near fresh human blood. They attempt to cover or neutralize it. This is not rumor. This is field observation at Kestrel Station. Use this knowledge? The director stared at her. You're sending your blood as a weapon. Mara met her eyes. They made it a weapon by fearing it. Cade leaned close, speaking low. Captain, they're cutting through the blast door. Metal screamed outside as alien tools bit into it. The door bowed slightly inward. Mara nodded. Then we make them pay for every inch. The defenders set up a final line in the junction. There were 2 main entry points, the blast door, and a service duct above that an alien could cut open. Mara placed 2 fighters on the duct with grenades. She placed the strongest shooters facing the door. Then she did something that made the director recoil. Mara opened her arm wrap and let fresh blood drip onto the floor, in a wide circle around their position. What are you doing? The director whispered. Mara's voice stayed calm. Drawing the line, the station director watched, horrified. That's your life spilling out. Mara shrugged slightly, careful of the pain. If it keeps them back even 1 second, it's worth it. The blast door finally broke with a loud crack. A strip of metal flew inward. Ice mist poured through. Then alien soldiers stepped in. Weapons raised. They stopped when they saw the blood circle. Their formation wavered. Their leader clicked sharply, angry, forcing them forward. But the soldiers moved like they were stepping near fire. Cade fired first. 2 aliens fell. Others returned fire, but their hesitation made their aim sloppy. Humans took advantage, shooting fast, moving hard, never letting the many regain clean control. Mara threw a grenade. It exploded, not with flames, but with a burst of bright light and shrapnel. An alien staggered back, then slipped and fell into the blood circle. The instant it touched the blood, it spasmed like its body hated the contact. Mara's eyes widened. You saw that? Cade nodded, grim. It hurts them. The director covered her mouth. Then it's real. Mara's mind snapped into sharper focus. If blood contact caused harm, even mild harm, then the many's fear was not only cultural, it was physical. Something in human blood, even outside the body, could affect them. Mara shouted orders: aim for legs, drop them into the blood, keep them close to it. It felt brutal and strange, fighting like this, but war was already brutal. Humans had simply learned to use the enemy's weakness. The many adapted again. They began firing from farther back, trying not to step near the blood. They sent drones forward, spraying foam to cover the red. They moved shields into place, blocking sightlines. The defenders started to lose ground. A human fighter near the duct screamed as an alien blade caught him. He fell, bleeding heavily. His blood spread fast across the floor, wider than Mara's circle. The alien soldiers recoiled, stepping back sharply. That reaction gave Mara a new opening. She grabbed a canister of station cleaning solvent and smashed it on the floor, mixing the chemical with the blood. It made a dark, wet smear. The smell turned sharp. The many soldiers stepped back even more. Cade stared at Mara. You're making it worse for them. Mara's voice was hard. Good. Then the station shook again. A bigger impact. Something hit the outer hull. The computer voice announced. Structural damage. Oxygen loss in Sector 4. The director cried out. The station is dying. Mara knew. They could not hold forever. But they did not need forever. They needed long enough for that message to travel. Long enough for human command to listen and prepare. Mara clicked her come again. All receivers, repeat, she said. Human blood contact causes physical distress to many units. Avoidance is confirmed. Use biological deterrence protocols, Static answered. Then a clearer voice came through. Weak but real. Message received, it said. Relay in progress. Mara's chest tightened with relief. They had done it. They had turned suffering into information. They had turned blood into warning. Cade moved beside her. Captain, he said, we can't stay. Mara looked around. Several defenders were wounded. Emma was low. The many were regrouping beyond the doorway, angry now, but also careful. Mara nodded slowly. We fall back to the core. We seal behind us. We make them chase. The director grabbed Mara's sleeve. But we're still trapped. Mara met her gaze. Trapped does not mean beaten. She wiped blood from her hand, smeared it across her armor stripe, and stood taller. Outside, the many prepared to enter again. They wanted clean victory. They wanted quiet control. But humanity was not clean war. Humanity was stubborn life. Humanity bled, and humanity stood. The station core was a round chamber filled with control panels, water tanks, and emergency power cells. The air here was warmer, but thinner, because several vents had failed. Mara could taste metal in every breath. The remaining defenders sealed the last door behind them. The station director leaned against a console, shaking, eyes hollow from fear and exhaustion. Cade sat on the floor and reloaded his last magazine. Counting each bullet like it was gold, Mara stood in the center of the chamber and looked at the people still alive. 23 defenders. 3 medics. The director. That was all. We can't fight them forever, one medic said, voice trembling. Mara nodded. No, but we can choose how we end this. The station director looked up sharply. End this. Mara's eyes stayed calm. We already saved the civilians. We already sent the message. Now we stop the many from taking the station as a trophy. Cade understood first. His jaw tightened. Self-destruct. The director's face went pale. There's a core overload system, but it needs manual trigger. Mara stepped toward the control panel. Then we trigger it. The director shook her head violently. That will kill everyone here. Mara's voice softened, but stayed firm. It will also deny them the station. Deny them supplies. Deny them proof that humans can be collected like cattle. If the many think they can cage us, we must show them cages. Do not hold humans. Cade rose slowly. Captain, if we do this, we should make it count. Mara nodded. We will. The many began cutting through the last door. Sparks fell from the seam. The sound was slow, steady, confident. The many believed time belonged to them. Mara spoke to the defenders. They fear our blood, she said. They call it contaminant. They try to cover it. They step back from it. That fear is real. Use it. If you are hit, do not hide your blood. Let it show. Let it touch the floor. Let them see what they cannot control. A young defender swallowed hard. That's horrifying. Mara's expression did not change. War is horrifying, but pride is choosing to stand anyway. Cade moved to Mara's side. How long do you need to overload the core? The director checked the panel with shaking hands. 2 minutes to arm it. Then 30 seconds to trigger. Mara nodded. You arm it. I will hold the line. The director stared. You can't hold alone. Mara looked at Cade. Cade stepped forward. She won't be alone, he said. Then he turned to the defenders. Form up. This is the last corridor. The door finally broke inward. Alien soldiers entered, weapons raised. They moved cautiously, scanning the room. Their leader clicked orders. Their blank masks turned toward Mara like cold moons. Mara stepped forward and lifted her injured arm, letting the blood-stained wrap hang loose. The red stood out against the dark metal floor. The many soldiers hesitated. Just as before, Mara fired.